Welcome to the Newark Collabcast, a show where our collaboration is first class. This podcast is a production of the Newark campus, which houses both Central Ohio Technical College, or COTC, as you probably know, and the Ohio State University at Newark. My name is Blake Baker. I am the host of this great program and also the marketing writer within the Marketing and Public Relations Department here on campus. Our office, like many others, is cost-shared. We work for both COTC and Ohio State Newark, and that means I have a front row seat to this special relationship. And more than just collaboration, the education here clearly is first class. The classes offered here, regardless of where they come from, prepare students for the future. And that topic is the one we'll be exploring today. To do it, we invited two of the foremost academic decision makers on our campus as guests. The scholastic shot callers, if you will, join me in the studio today. They do a wonderful job facilitating what students learn, and we have a lot to learn from them. So let's get started. It's a pleasure to introduce Greg Ferenchak, COTC's Provost. Greg, thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
And opposite him, Stephanie Brown, Associate Dean for Academic Affairs at Ohio State Newark. Stephanie, appreciate your joining us too.
Thanks for asking us, Blake.
Okay, so as far as I understand it, you two are tasked with supplying students as many high-quality academic options as possible. And boy, is there a breadth of options available to them. It's truly robust, and it's something we'll get to as we go. But no matter a student's major, minor, certificate program, whatever, there's one piece of positive feedback I hear over and over again. The small class sizes resonate with everyone. Students, faculty, I'm sure even people in your offices. It's truly a calling card of this campus. But what does it actually look like? Stephanie, we'll start with you on this one. I'm hoping you can take us inside those classrooms, kind of contextualize the vibe in there. Can you paint us a picture of those intimate small class settings that exist here?
Sure, I'm happy to do that. Most of our classes here at Newark are capped at or have a maximum number of students at 35 students for intro courses or 24 for upper level courses. Some of our classes are even smaller. Our writing classes and some of our math and language classes are capped at 21 students or 19 or even 15, so very small. The instructor is always an expert in their field, and that person works with students directly. They don't have teaching assistants to run discussion sections, and they don't have other people doing the grading. Taking, for example, microeconomics here at Newark, it's a class of 35 students, and taking that here is just qualitatively different from taking it on the Columbus campus with 500 other people and a professor that you never actually meet. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, fundamentally could not be more different than
really
that type
not,
of setting.
Really not.
Absolutely. Greg, does that setting look any different on the COTC side of things?
It's about the same thing, Blake.
Okay.
The class size for traditional lecture classes vary from anywhere from 15 to 35 students. Like the lab course size depends on the amount of equipment in the lab and what the students must use for their assignments, but the majority of the labs are around 30. Now, the clinical sections are a little bit different, where the students work one-on-one with a preceptor or with the faculty. They're at an external site can be as low as 10 students per group.
Awesome. Yeah, and it really is different than what you might see at some other campuses. It's something I hear a lot. It's something you two are obviously intimately familiar with. But I want to make sure that our audience has a full grasp on the importance of those environments, those small class settings, the intimate environments. Greg, how would you describe the value of that small class settings that are so prevalent here on our campus?
Well, the smaller class sizes allows for more one-on-one between the faculty and the student, especially in the clinical and lab setting. Faculty, especially if they're at a lot of written assignments, have more time to grade them and spend with the student. So there's a little bit more quality time with the student.
No doubt about that. Stephanie, anything to add there?
Yeah, I would just say that the strongest testimonial that I can offer in, supporting the small class sizes is the fact that students sometimes come to us for a year and then transition to Columbus and then end up coming back to take a course with us because it's something they think is going to be especially challenging. Maybe it's chemistry, maybe it's calculus, but they think that the small class size will be a better fit for them, and so they'll come back to take that class.
Yeah. And I think we can all agree that, no matter the size of a class, it's really only as good as the instructor who leads it. Greg, how would you describe the quality of COTC's faculty and the experience they bring to this institution?
Well, the faculty, especially in the technical programs, bring practical experience to the classroom. So what they're teaching to the students is something that they've actually done in real life situations. So it's very applicable. So the students kind of see a vested interest in this faculty member talking about nursing or radiography, that I've done this type of thing. This is how it's going to work in real life. So a lot of times we talk about theory, but in real life, it's going to be a little bit different.
Yeah. And as COTC really likes to hang its hat on these meaningful connections with local and regional employers and establishing those connections for students, the faculty really have to play a huge part in that. I think that's really beneficial for everybody.
Agree.
Yeah. And Stephanie, you want to follow up with you in the same way. What can you say about Ohio State Newark's faculty and what they bring to the table?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's common knowledge that the faculty at Ohio State in general are world-class researchers and world-class faculty. And the faculty here at Newark are all members of their departments in Columbus. We're all the same faculty. We go to the same grad schools. We get the same degrees. We publish the same books. I mean, I'm a tenured faculty member in my own department. So yeah, I would say that anything that you would expect to get at The Ohio State University in Columbus, you also will be getting in the classroom here, except at a smaller scale.
Yeah, that's right. It's really boiled down that way in a positive way. Absolutely. And it's an Ohio State education, following up on you at the end of the day. What the students that this place serves are chasing an Ohio State degree. And because those diplomas at the end of the day will don that big block O, the academic affairs team in Columbus is certainly involved with what happens here. So, Stephanie, how does your office work with that team in Columbus to facilitate the Ohio State academic programs that are offered here on the Newark campus?
Yeah, we work with Columbus to ensure that students who start at Newark can transition smoothly to the Columbus campus and complete any academic program that they want to complete there, if that's their goal. They can also, of course, stay here for 4 years, and I know we'll get into that in a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a partnership that's based on the fact that we are one university and we all have the common goal of meeting students' needs. I'll give you an example. A few years ago, the design department came to us and said, hey, we're concerned that first-year students who want to major in design are not able to get their first-year courses at Newark, and so it's hard for them to graduate on time. And we said, oh, okay, now that we know that's a problem, let's fix that. So we then scheduled the necessary classes, and we actually, created a brand new maker's space on campus for design students to use as a studio for project work. So we sank resources into making sure that this was available. We're always looking for ways to make the experience at Newark really an ideal launching pad for new students, no matter what their ultimate goal is. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Good job kind of taking that feedback from the superiors here and using that to our advantage. I'm sure that's another common theme that we'll touch on as we go. And when Ohio State and Newark students step on campus here, they can begin any one of Ohio State's more than 200 degree programs. It's a pretty high number. I imagine it's pretty overwhelming for someone who's just getting their feet wet in college. And as a result, some students might not even know where to start. So Stephanie, what options await a student who may not yet know what major is right for them?
Yeah, so I would say that's what the Gen Ed is for. That's what general education requirements are for. New students have to complete general education requirements that give them exposure to a variety of fields of study. And all first-year students also take this small seminar course whose main purpose is to get them thinking about, what is higher education? What does it mean to you? And what is your own intellectual and professional goal? I think that, that really helps to prepare students who don't actually know exactly what they want to do the minute they step in the door. And that's a lot of students.
Yeah,
so,
I imagine so. And there's even an exploratory option as well, correct?
Yeah, so they take a university survey course as well, what we call the EXP course. And I think that's an extremely useful course for students because it teaches them kind of how to use the university to their best advantage, how to make use of the resources, how to navigate the university structure. And especially for students, for whom maybe they're the first person in their family to go to college, that's a super important thing. They may need that guidance initially to make sure that they get everything they can out of being here.
And that's a large chunk of the students that are served here on this campus.
It is, yeah. It's a significant percentage.
Excellent. So there are resources for them, no doubt. And whenever a student does decide on what program they'd like to pursue, they'll find that a handful of them can be completed entirely on the Newark campus. That's something you alluded to. Can you walk us through those 4-year programs and why they stand out?
Sure, yeah, I can. I won't go through every program because I don't want to take all that time, but I will mention a couple specifically because they're degrees that are unique to the regional campuses. I'd like to talk about the Bachelor's of Science in Engineering Technology, for example. That's a program that blends traditional engineering with courses that really get students ready for success in industry. So it includes technical skills, some economics, some business management, some communication skills, all the things that you need, right, to be successful once you join industry. That degree was designed with input from local manufacturers and businesses, and so it gives students many options, I think, when they graduate in today's job market. A second degree I'd like to mention that's also unique to the regional campuses is the business management degree. It's offered through Fisher College of Business. So it has that cachet. I mean, Fisher is very well known.
Absolutely.
But it's also a really practical degree, like the BSET, I think, because it gives students the chance to get the full range of business skills. They don't really specialize. It's more of a broad-based knowledge kind of degree. They learn about accounting, to finance, to marketing, to logistics, to human resources. It really does cover everything.
Yeah.
And again, like the BSET, I think it, like the Bachelor's of Science in Engineering Technology, sorry, we always use that
That's
acronym.
the shorthand, yeah.
Yeah, we always use that acronym. It equips students to do many jobs, I think, especially in a small business environment. So,
Yeah, generalized business degree there, so they can step into any field, and it does have the Fisher College of Business backing. That's really great. For those wondering, the other ones that you can currently complete here on the Newark campus: history degree, English, primary education,
psychology.
and psychology. That's a big one, yeah. And I do know that there's another one coming soon, I believe. Are you able to tell us some about that?
I can tell you a little bit about it. Yeah, we're preparing to launch a brand new major, which will be the Bachelor's in Leadership. This is a degree that asks students to think about the qualities that make effective leaders and to find and ground their own leadership style in interdisciplinary study in a variety of fields. So there are a lot of different specializations. At Newark, we're interested in one that aims to help students who are interested in the health sciences, because we have a lot of students who are interested in the health sciences coming to us more every year. We want them to gain the perspective and the skills to lead in that area, which arguably impacts everyone. I mean, we all have interactions with the health system. In this major, they're asked to think not just about the science of health and healthcare, but also the history and the ethics and the policy that are involved, and all the other sort of aspects of it. So I think it's really not hard to see how that major is really relevant to the world today as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Very applicable. And I would have to think that the recently announced John and Alex Ankley Endowed Chair in Human Ethics has a part to play in this. The dedicated faculty who's receiving that private funding is a part of the campus academic leadership to lead and spearhead this ethical education development in the leadership program. So it'll be cool to see how all that comes to fruition. Very exciting stuff. So Ohio State Newark is taking this feedback from Columbus and applying it in certain ways here. I think it's pretty clear the through line of where Ohio State is getting its guidance. Probably a little bit less clear on the COTC side. Greg, from where does guidance on COTC's academic offerings come? Who helps your office shape the curricula?
So programs are offered by the college based on workforce needs of our service area. If an existing business or industry expresses a need for employers with a particular skill, we do some research as to the long-term needs for workers. A lot of work goes into determine which programs to offer to ensure that they are sustainable for a long time. But once a decision is made to add a new program, we create what's called an advisory committee, and they help us determine the program outcomes or what skills graduates will need to be a viable employee in that job. We rely on business and industry to share the skills and certifications they require, and then create courses that will teach those skills and make them eligible to sit for the appropriate licensing exam.
Yeah. And what kinds of people sit on those advisory committees that are able to shape these programs?
Employers, actual workers in that field, some external community partners that would kind of have a need for that type of person to do those skills.
Sometimes I think even students, current students, are on those programs as well. So able to see how that's being shaped in real time. Very cool stuff. So COT does a great job of taking some of that guidance, and they use it to offer more than 50 degree and certificate programs. Greg, how exactly does each type of credential help prepare students for whatever's next?
So all the courses in a plan of study directly apply to the career-based business and industry standards. So for example, to be a nurse at a hospital, a student must have completed an accredited program, graduate, and obtain a license to practice as a nurse. Obviously, they have to take a certification exam. So they also this also applies to the other health science programs.
Mm-hmm. And COTC is very unique in that it offers these programs at 4 total campus locations. It's actually the only technical college in Ohio that can say that. It's a point we really like to hammer home on this podcast. So if a student enrolls at one of COTC's extended campuses in Knox, Coshocton, or Pataskala, what might their academic journey look like?
So they're going to basically follow the same plan of study as if they were here, but they're going to have a smaller group of students in that cohort based on the population in that area. So the location basically meets their needs as opposed to coming over here to campus. So it kind of saves them a lot of time as far as commuting to Newark.
And just about every program that's offered here in Newark is offered at those extended campuses. Am I correct
The
there?
gen ed courses, they are correct. Now, we kind of limit like which of the technical programs that we'll offer over there based on the need for that area and basically the equipment that is needed for that lab. So we don't duplicate a lot of lab equipment expenses unnecessarily.
Makes total sense. And one that I think deserves a shout out at the COTC Pataskala campus is the CDL program, Commercial Driver's License. I think it's a pretty unique partnership with Ancora out there that's doing good work. I mentioned some feedback early on about the small class sizes. Another piece of feedback that I hear a ton from students is that they love opportunities for hands-on learning that this campus provides. The health sciences does a great job with that. Engineering, absolutely. I'm actually thinking about a specific quote from an engineering student at Ohio State Newark who said that those opportunities for practical learning allow them to really understand, quote, the meat and the reality of what the curriculum says. I thought that was great. That really stuck with me. So whether it's engineering, whether it's healthcare, I know even, social work and education have these field placement opportunities. That's very important to their curriculum. This campus has invested heavily in providing those practical learning experiences to its students. Stephanie, on the Ohio State Newark side, why is that such a big focus? And how is your office actually working to deliver on that idea?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a way to honor the fact that students really want those practical hands-on experiences, as your sample student from engineering really makes clear. I've never heard that expression before. That's interesting. I think they want that maybe now even more than they did before COVID moved everything online and kind of made it harder to have those kinds of experiences. We're focused on showing students not just what they can learn, in a lecture or a reading or from a reading, but also, what they can do, what they can actually do. So you mentioned engineering. I want to mention a course that I wish I had been able to take when I was an undergraduate, which is our humanitarian engineering course, which again is a class that's open to all students. So it's a general education requirement. It fulfills a general education requirement. So any student can take it. You don't have to be an engineering student. But it gives students the chance to kind of like build practical solutions themselves to questions like, how do you filter water if you have very limited resources and time?
Okay.
Things like that, right? I think it's hugely empowering to be able to do that kind of work, and under the guidance of a skilled instructor. And students seem to really love it.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I like that example. And Greg, can you also talk about how COTC has put effort into supplying these practical learning experiences?
Yes. As far as, once again, the health science labs and engineering labs, we have equipment in there that the students would actually be using as a profession in that, whether it's in a hospital or a doctor's office or in a clean lab. So we invest a lot of money on the state-of-the-art equipment. So you don't want to have old, antiquated equipment in the lab and then they learn on that and then they go into the hospital. And this is completely different because they're working with patients in there that actually need those services. So they have to be able to take those skills from the lab directly into the hands-on practical experience in the practicum.
Definitely. Yeah, and I know that there were, speaking of the diagnostic medical sonography lab, specifically DMS lab sonography, they've gotten some recent equipment that is, I've heard, is actually maybe even better than some of the local hospitals that these students might be placed in down the line. So the really great training they're getting here really establishes that foundation. Stephanie alluded to this. I know we're not breaking any news by saying this. The prevalence of online classes has really increased post-pandemic. I think it's something everybody can see. However, it does seem, fundamentally a bit at odds with this point we're making about the push toward hands-on experience. Stephanie, how much does that push impact the number of online classes that are offered through Ohio State Newark?
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say that even online classes can have hands-on elements, and a lot of ours do. So like a class like human nutrition is a good example, is sometimes offered online, but it features a lab component that students can do at home. They receive a lab kit, and so they can actually do the hands-on part of it at home.
Oh, cool.
So, I mean, there are other classes like that. That said, while we offer a number of classes online that I think are very high quality, and I think students are getting a good experience from them, we're really working toward offering more in-person classes than online classes these days because that's what students tell us they really prefer. They want that in-person intellectual community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you're taking some of that feedback too and applying it to maybe these online classes with these at-home labs. I think that's a really innovative way to kind of blend the two, to merge those together. Something we've established previously on this podcast is the student populations are different, with COTCs including a lot more adult learners who are fitting higher education into their already busy lives with families and full-time jobs, things like that. Greg, what impact do COTC's online and asynchronous learning options have on those types of students?
So these formats provide students with a more flexible learning environment because they're not committed to be sitting in class at a specific day and time. Most of our students are going to be adult learners, so they can schedule their class time around their schedule and not when they have to, the courses they basically need.
And asynchronous, of course, maybe I should have explained that early on. Just students can learn, kind of on their own schedule. They fit coursework within a certain time frame rather than like taking a class every day, completing a class assignment every single day. And that really does lend itself well to people's lifestyles. I think people are trying to fit this higher education journey into what they're already doing, and COTC seems to make that pretty accessible to them. So that's the adult learners. On the opposite side of the spectrum are high schoolers taking college courses through this campus. Those are what we call College Credit Plus CCP students. Ohio State-Newark does offer CCP classes on campus. COTC has a much larger presence in their high school classrooms, as far as I understand it. There are some offerings here on campus as well. And COTC has a much, much larger quantity of these types of students. Correct me if I'm wrong, Greg. I think it's something close to half of the entire student body is CCP
That's
students.
correct.
Yeah, huge swath. How does COTC work to accommodate this huge group of young learners?
So we offer courses for this in the students' plan of study at their high school for their convenience. So by doing this, we can use college classrooms for other courses that we need to offer here. And in many cases, we utilize high school teachers who are familiar with the CCP students to facilitate the classroom activities, which makes it a more comfortable environment for these students.
Awesome. And for those who might be interested who are listening, and maybe this is even open to both of you, do CCP students have to enroll in specific classes? Can they kind of take whatever classes they want? How does that work?
So the students are limited to courses that are in their plan of study. So students meet with their high school guidance counselor to determine their educational goals, and then we work with them as far as which courses we're going to offer there at the high school for them.
Gotcha. It's very easy for these students to continue at COTC or Ohio State-Newark after their high school experience. Having banked some certain credits, having gotten some of these general education courses out of the way, makes it a pretty seamless transition into whatever degree or certificate program they're interested in. Could be a catalyst for the rest of their academic journey. And there's also a pathway for COTC students who want to transfer their credits to Ohio State. Stephanie, can you enlighten us a little bit on how that process works?
Sure, yeah. I think Greg and I probably agree that we want to offer the widest range of higher education options possible for students who come to this campus. So OSU-Newark offers an Associate of Arts degree, which is a 2-year degree that some students actually come in and they've already, because of CCP, they're already halfway or 3/4 of the way toward earning that degree.
Wow.
So they might get that, but they might also do that on their way to getting the bachelor's degree. Often that is the case, right? So it's just a degree that they sort of get on the way. Meanwhile, COTC is offering these much more practical, career-focused 2-year degrees that Greg's been talking about. A student might finish one of those degrees, work for a little while, and then return to Ohio State to complete a bachelor's degree in order to advance in their chosen field. And students certainly do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Greg, anything to add on that front?
No, other than, like she said, we have the AA and the AS degrees that are hopefully transferable to applicable courses or degrees here at OSU-Newark. Our mission is a little bit different, like Stephanie says. It's basically technical education and training needs for students, which is different from OSU-Newark.
Certainly. It's nice that there's a little bit of a pathway there for, if you want to have the experience at both, which we would definitely encourage. On the collaboration front, we see the upsides of each of these institutions. And I think that idea of the pathway really lends itself well to the spirit of this campus, the spirit of this show, the Collabcast, right? And in that same vein, I guess I want to expand a little bit on the academic collaboration, maybe how that manifests itself on this campus. Stephanie, in what ways do these two institutions partner on plans of study, courses they offer, anything of that nature?
Yeah, so Greg and I work together to kind of try to align pathways for students. Certainly I would want Greg's perspective on this too, but I think that, in any case, there's a list of courses that automatically transfer between institutions in the state of Ohio.
Okay.
So a student can bring credit, and they often do bring credit from COTC straight to OSU. We also see a lot of students coming in, as I said, with CCP credit hours, College Credit Plus hours from COTC, which Greg's already talked about. So we have a limited number of CCP courses, so this is actually a really great opportunity for students to bank those credit hours that they can just bring to us and do it while they're in high school.
Wonderfully said. Greg, anything to throw in there?
No, once again, when a student comes to us and they say we kind of ask them, well, what are your long-term goals? Are you looking for an associate's degree just to go out in the workforce, or are you looking to get a bachelor's degree? Then we kind of pair them up with, what degree do we have over at OSU-Newark to say, all right, you do the AA here and then transfer these courses into the degree at OSU.
Yeah. So your two offices really are working together. You really are partnering on some of these efforts.
Yeah, Greg and I meet, every week, right?
Every week.
Yeah.
Nice. Constant communication there.
Yep.
And I think that showcases a lot about the collaboration here on the campus. If anybody has listened to our previous episode of the Newark Collabcast, where we invited the Office of Student Life on to speak about the student experiences here, there are clearly ways these institutions collaborate outside of the classroom as well. I remember hearing that the Fall Feast is a favorite of you both. I don't know if you care to elaborate on that event or other ones that kind of showcase this collaboration you enjoy.
I think Greg and I both love the Fall Feast,
Absolutely.
right? So which is effectively like a Thanksgiving lunch. It's like turkey and mashed potatoes and pumpkin pie and that kind of stuff. For students from both institutions, we give away prizes. The servers are all administrators and staff. So like the dean is handing out mashed potatoes, which is really nice, or whatever he wants to hand out. We let him have whatever dish he wants. And we have the opportunity to take pictures with our respective mascots. So Brutus is here, TC is here. It's really quite wonderful.
Excellent. And yeah, I would direct anybody who is interested in more of those outside the classroom collaborations to listen to our previous episode that features the Office of Student Life. But bringing it back to the academic programs, your respective institutions, they offer pretty distinct offerings, I would say, but they're all high quality, and that makes an education from this campus distinct. I want to kind of wrap by expanding on that topic a little bit. It's what we've danced around this entire interview. It's kind of the crux of it all, but let's put a nice big bow on it as we wrap it up. Greg, we'll start with you on this one. What makes a COTC education stand out among its competitors in this area, and how does COTC give students a pathway to success?
So there are no other two-year colleges in the area, so our competition would be more or less the online colleges and universities. So the advantage we have over them is that obviously our lower costs and the presence here in the community.
And the establishing those relationships, I think, with the local employers and taking that feedback, helping shape what happens here is really crucial. Absolutely. And Stephanie, let's close by having you answer the same question on the Ohio State Newark side.
Yeah, so I always say that students who join us at the Newark campus have a truly unique college experience. They can come to us and they can be comfortable on a small and beautiful, everybody always talks about how beautiful our campus is, a small and beautiful campus. They can get academic and other support if they need it, really tailored to them. And they can develop really strong bonds with a dedicated faculty and become part of this kind of tight-knit community here. So they have that small campus experience, but at the same time, they still enjoy all the resources and the network of this massive institution that is the Ohio State University. So I feel like you're getting 2 in 1, really. You're getting the small college experience nestled in the giant Big Ten R1 experience. And there's nothing really quite like that I'm aware of anywhere else. It's a path that has served generations of OSU grads very well. And I really think that it will continue to do so for years in the future.
100%. Wonderfully said. I think it's clear to see all the resources that this campus provides. It's easy to see the first-class partnership here on campus, the first-class courses, faculty, academic programs, and now you've been introduced to the first-class leaders in academic affairs who are making it all possible. So thank you both for helping us make today's episode an A++. We really do appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Blake.
And thank you to all of our listeners at home for tuning in from wherever you might be. We hope you'll join us again next month as we examine another aspect of this impressive campus. Keep up with all the cool stuff happening here by following us on social media. You can find Ohio State Newark at, imagine this, Ohio State Newark, and COTC at COTC-EDU on all social platforms. For more information about our celebrated cost-shared partnership, check out our dedicated web pages, go.osu.edu/55partnership and or go.cotc.edu/55partnership. Well, that'll do it for today's episode. I'm Blake Baker, and that was the Newark Collabcast. We'll talk to you again soon.